So, Harry Potter. This is such a popular series that I'm pretty sure everyone has read it, like everyone who was born in this generation. And when I read it, I remember being so keen on accepting a letter when I was 11 years old, but too bad I'm already 15 and no letter has arrived. Unless some crazy accident happened, I'm still waiting for my belated invitation to Hogwarts, and I think most of you guys are as well. So, I'm Cathy, and I am in the 11th grade. I read these books when I was in fourth grade, and I know I was super late to the trend, but it was when I read it, I was like, oh God, this is the best series ever. And I was obsessed with the series ever since. I actually rewatched all the movies recently so that I can have a fresher memory of what happened in these books. And yeah, and now I'm going to hand it over to David.
Hello, I'm David. I'm in ninth grade currently. I read Harry Potter during second grade and I also reread it 2 years ago because I really liked it. I really just love the series, and I'm pretty sure you guys all loved it too. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this presentation.
Mhm. So, quick spoiler alert here because we're going to give away some key plot points. So, if you guys haven't read it or haven't watched any of the movies, just know that you guys have been warned. If some spoilers really shock you, then I'm really sorry. But we are going to give away some huge spoilers. Yeah, but if you haven't watched the movies, you wouldn't love spoilers. I remember someone spoiled. First spoiler here. I remember someone spoiled to me that Dumbledore dies, and I was so devastated. I was like, "Why would you say that to me? I haven't read it yet." And that was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. So, first of all, overview of the books. This entire series contains 4,224 pages, so there is no way for us to actually go over every single one of the books in detail. So, I'm going to show you a song that actually goes over the entire series in under 3 minutes, I believe. So, enjoy.
Once was a boy named Harry, destined to be a star. His parents were killed by Voldemort, who gave him a lightning scar. Yo, Harry, you a wizard. Harry goes to Hogwarts, he meets Ron and Hermione. McGonagall requires he play for Gryffindor. Draco is his daddy's boy. Quirrell becomes unemployed. The sorcerer's son is destroyed by Dumbledore. Ron breaks his wand. Now Jenny's gone and Harry's in mortal danger. Tom Riddle hides his snake inside his ginormous secret chamber. Harry blows up and barge. The Dementors come and take charge. Lupin is a wolf, the rat's a man, and now the prisoner is at large. They use time travel so they can save the prisoner of Azkaban, who just so happens to be Harry's godfather. I don't really get it either. Harry gets put in the Triwizard Tournament with dragons and mermaids. Oh no, Edward Cullen gets slayed. He's back. Harry, it's gonna be scary. Voldemort's coming, you're a revolutionary. Harry, Dumbledore. Why is he ignoring your constant attempts to contact him? He is forced to leave the school. Umbridge arrives, Draco's a fool. Kids break into the ministry. Sirius Black is dead as can be. Oh, split your soul. 7 parts of a whole. There are Caraxes. It's Dumbledore's head. There once was a boy named Harry who constantly conquered death. But in one final duel between good and bad, he may take his final breath.
So, yeah, that was the overview of the books. And here's a quick snippet of the lyrics, and David will read that for you guys.
There once was a boy named Harry, destined to be a star. His parents were killed by Voldemort, who gave him a lightning scar. So here's like the background story of how Harry came. So this is like, yeah, it's the background of Harry's lightning scar, and like just to give you like a setting or a background of what happened. Basically, when Harry was born, Voldemort tried to kill him, but his mother saved him because, well, power of love. So, and he got the lightning scar on his forehead instead.
Yeah. So I feel like if you read it closely, you can actually see that the person who actually set everything in motion was not Voldemort. It was Snape. Because Snape was the one who told him about the prophecy, right? So I think Snape is at fault for everything that happened to Harry. But then without Snape, we wouldn't get this book series. So I guess thank you, Snape. All right. So favorite characters. I think everyone has a favorite character from this book series because there are just so many lovable characters. Fred and George here. Cedric Diggory, Cho Chang, and I'm going to talk about my favorite character first, and then I'm going to show you a quote right here and see if any of you can guess. I know the people who have been here before know who it is, but if anyone else knows, please just shout out the answer. I would be happy to hear if you know who said this quote. Yeah, Luna Lovegood. The thing that gave it away for me was, "You're just as sane as I am." That was something so Luna to say, right? It was just, you're not as sane as I am, because Luna's not really sane in other people's eyes. Right. So yeah, so she's quirky, she's kind, and she has a cool and unique sense of fashion, which is always something that puts a person in my eyes as one of my favorites. And then she is very creative because she's a Ravenclaw. That's why she got sorted into a Ravenclaw. But she's also very loyal, which I think gives some sort of little Gryffindor parts in her. And then my favorite thing about her is that she never lets any negativity on the part of her peers get her down. And she is completely confident about her identity and her beliefs, even though they're really quirky and people often just question her beliefs. But she knows her beliefs and she just never doubts it, which I believe is something very cool about her.
So here's a quote from my favorite character. There's no good and evil, there's only power, and those too weak to seek it. Okay, this is my opinion. I know it's very controversial, people might not like it, but here's why. He was very smart. As a student at Hogwarts, when he was still Tom Riddle, he was very talented. He was just overall, I think he was a really talented student and he was very smart. Even as Voldemort, he was very ambitious and dedicated to his cause, although his cause may not be a good one. He's very persuasive too. When he was Tom Riddle, he persuaded Slughorn to tell him about the book. So there, and also another thing, I feel like if Harry got put up against a weak villain, the series wouldn't be that exciting. So Voldemort, I think, is just the perfect villain for Harry. That's why I really like him.
Yeah, there's always like a balance between the power of the villain versus the power of the protagonist. It's kind of like a Batman versus Joker situation here. And I feel like Voldemort is very powerful, not only because he's a really good wizard, also because he has what it takes to command a whole army. Like, I feel like it takes a lot to actually be the leader of a whole, what do you
Yeah.
call it, the Death Eaters. And then no one actually really betrays. Well, I guess like they betrayed him when he died, but he was really powerful that they would all come back to him in fear and not
Yeah.
in awe, I guess, as well. So I think he is a Machiavellian leader, right? He commands people in fear, but not because they're loyal, but because they're just fearful of him. All right, the 4 houses. We're just going to go over the houses really quickly. Yeah, they're going to be really super short overviews. All right, first of all, Gryffindor. I consider myself a Gryffindor. Now, the notable members include, of course, Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley, and they're like the huge center trio of the movie. They're like the powerhouse of this movie. They're what make the movie interesting. And then Gryffindor really values courage, chivalry, determination, which can be seen in all of the Gryffindor characters, I think. But I feel like in Neville, in the beginning, you couldn't really see courage, but in the end of the first movie, when he was trying to stop Harry Potter and Hermione and Ron from going into the secret chamber, the place that they're not supposed to go. I feel like that shows courage, because didn't Dumbledore say something like it takes courage to face up to face an enemy, but it also takes courage to face in a friend. So I think that's what shows Neville's courage. And then it was founded by Godric Gryffindor.
Hufflepuff. The notable members of Hufflepuff are Newt Scamander, Cedric Diggory, and Nymphadora Tonks. Their value qualities are hard work, dedication, patience, loyalty, and fair play, and is founded by Helga Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Newt Scamander is one of my favorite characters, even though he's not really canon per se, but he's from the Fantastic Beasts, if you know that. So basically saying that movie manliness, a lot of the movie manliness, they just have to show the male characters as being really buff and bold and courageous. But in this movie, the protagonist, Newt Scamander right here, he is not the boldest character, but he is kind of shy and he is an introverted person. But I think that's another form of masculinity that I really admire. All right, next, Ravenclaw. And Ravenclaw houses some of my favorite characters. Luna Lovegood. And there's Luna Lovegood, Cho Chang, and Padma Patil, two of which are Asian, which I think is a bit stereotypical of Rowling, to say the least. And then they value cleverness, wisdom, wit, intellectual ability, and creativity, which I think is possessed by all the Ravenclaw people that we see, and it's founded by Rowena Ravenclaw. Great alliteration there. Just a note.
Next up is Slytherin. The notable members include Tom Riddle, Draco, and Snape. The valid qualities are ambition, cunning, leadership, and resourcefulness, and is founded by Salazar Slytherin.
So Slytherin and Gryffindor are like the huge houses in these movies. And I think they chose very interesting houses. And they also chose opposing colors, if you notice. Like red and green are like the contrasting colors if you studied art and just if you just know in general. All right. So our favorite books. We're just gonna quickly go over our favorite books. And mine is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I think it's the most it's a book with the most riveting plot, and the movie is so well done. Like the cinematography is on point. And then my favorite part about it is definitely the time travel, because it's I think this graph actually explains that like you never create multiple timelines when you are time traveling back. You stay on the same timeline and you're just doing different things in that same timeline. So I think since it's not real, I think time travel is a very confusing subject to bring into a book. That's why a lot of the times when movies and books and different franchises bring in time travel into their movies, people are so furious about it because it just messes up the entire feel of the movies, because sometimes it just doesn't make sense at all, or it creates a huge loophole and some kind of plot hole into the movies. And also, this book introduces some of my favorite characters in the series. There's Lupin, there's Sirius, and my favorite thing about this is that this book is the only one without interference by Voldemort. It also introduces a villain without introducing the mega villain of the franchise. The villain is I think the villain is basically the Dementors and the mission to well, it's not really a villain. The mission is not the villain, but the goal or like the driving force of the movie is a mission to save Sirius, or in the end at least. So I think that's a really interesting plot of the book.
And my favorite book is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. In this book, they introduce the Horcruxes, and which they learn through the actual memories of Slughorn, and also I feel like this book is very important because, yeah, one they learn about the Horcruxes, which actually is like the weakness to Voldemort, kind of, and then the main characters are Harry, Dumbledore, and Snape, and also another big factor I think in this movie that made Harry more dedicated to defeat Voldemort is the death of Dumbledore, because I feel like if Dumbledore didn't die, they might have taken him more slowly.
Mm-hmm. Like a motive.
Yeah.
It was his primary motive to find the Horcruxes really quickly. And also just because Voldemort is back and they're causing mayhem all over the world. By the way, quick poll here. Harry Potter, and no one actually knew that Harry Potter was a Horcrux. And I don't think Voldemort actually meant to make Harry Potter, but I think that was an ingenious way to factor Harry Potter into this huge plot that they have going on from beginning to end. Right? I feel like it's a very creative way to link the entire series together. But for me, I think the best hidden Horcrux is the locket, because it was just so out of nowhere, right? Like, how do you even find something like that? So I think that is something that Voldemort actually excelled at. If he hid every single Horcrux like that, he wouldn't have been defeated, I think. Okay, so here's something that I really like. Defense Against the Dark Arts. It's called Dada, and it's a cursed position by Tom Riddle because he was rejected by Dumbledore, and from then on, he cursed the position so that no one would last for over a year. Which I'm really curious, why hasn't Dumbledore done something about it? Or why do people still apply to this position? I feel like if there was a ad for this position on the newspaper, it would be like, Professor needed, werewolf, okay if you have two heads, okay if you're an imposter of some kind, This position just gets the weirdest professor ever, and you're gonna see why. This is the ultimate lineup of all the professors. There's Quirrell, Lockhart, Lupin, Moody, Umbridge, and Snape. Not really Moody, because that's Barty Crouch Jr., and he was drinking Polyjuice potion. And this guy has a head on the other side of his head, which I thought was a source of nightmare for multiple years. I would just dream up of finding a head on the back of my head. And that was just terrifying for me. All right, so Remus Lupin, that I think is the best professor out there, because even though he was a werewolf, but putting that aside, he actually taught Harry practical magic, which I thought was very useful. And he said, "Chocolate, trust me, it helps." And that was one of my favorite lines from the entire franchise, and that just makes him even higher on the list. All right, so worst professor out there. I'm not even going to read her name. Take it away, David.
The worst professor is definitely Dolores Umbridge, because she's the only other person to leave a scar on Harry. It's just like, come on. And she only taught theoretical knowledge, nothing like practical. Yeah. And she's just a worst. It's just like she's just such a bad person overall. There's like so many moments in the movie where she was like, shows how bad of a person she is. I don't like her either.
Yeah, she's intolerable. But I gotta say, the actor actually played her well, right?
Yeah.
The actress, like, she was able to portray such an evil character. Oh, I saw an interview with her, and she was like, "Oh, the casting director came up to me. The casting director said, "We have this person we need you to act. The person's description in the book is that she looks like a toad." And the actress was like, "Well, thanks." So I was like, "What an insult right there." No, that's a little bit sad for this actress. She's actually really talented. She's in a bunch of Broadway shows. Anyways, this is what Rowling said of Umbridge. Her desire to control, to punish, and to inflict pain, all in the name of law and order, are, I think, every bit as reprehensible as Lord Voldemort's unvarnished espousal of evil. Which is completely true, and she put it into words that I could never think of. Now.
So I chose to talk about the Death Eaters, and yeah. I just find it interesting because, like, like there's so many different Death Eaters. Although, like, you only get to know a couple, but I'm just surprised how many people follow him. So one of the best Death Eaters, in my opinion, is definitely Bellatrix, because she is one of the most loyal Death Eaters, and she will do most of Lord Voldemort's biddings without hesitation. She killed Dobby. She forced Snape to make the unbreakable vow, and she also killed Sirius Black. I
Oh
feel
my
like,
god, heartbreaking. I just
yeah.
realized she killed like 2 fan favorite characters. So she deserved to die.
And the worst Death Eater, in my opinion, is definitely Igor Karkaroff. He was actually introduced later on in the movie, and at first he was just like a normal headmaster, but then later on you discover more about his past, and you find out he was actually a Death Eater. He was put on the trial, and then I think, yeah, he actually gave away many Death Eaters' names, including Barty Crouch Jr. So he could get so he doesn't have to be in Azkaban anymore. So
Yeah.
so I feel like he never did anything for Voldemort, at least in the movies. He never really did anything for him, like apart from like just snitching on them.
Yeah,
So,
he knows nothing about loyalty.
yeah.
Definitely not a Gryffindor. I can see all of these villains as a Slytherin, which is kind of bad because I actually began to like Slytherin by the end of the books, especially when Harry Potter named his son Albus Severus Potter, right? After Dumbledore and Snape, which I thought was really sweet, but also shows that Harry has no creativity. He named all of his children after people that he like admired, right? There's James Potter, I think he named one of his son after his dad. So like no creativity there, Potter. That's why you're not a Ravenclaw. All right, so this final quote that I want to share. We've all got both light and dark inside us. What matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are. Now Sirius Black said that, which was really, really fitting because he gets this really emotional moment with Harry Potter, and they just talk about those things. Yeah, blah blah blah. I'm gonna show you a quick video.
What is that mysterious ticking noise? Kind of catchy. Snipe, snipe, Severus Snape. Snipe, snipe, Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Snape, Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Snape, Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Snape, Snape, Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Snape, Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Snape, Severus Snape. Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Harry Potter! Harry Potter! Severus Snape. Dumbledore! Harry Potter! Harry Potter! Severus Snape. That's me. Harry Snape. 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 Dumbledore! Dumbledore! Harry Potter! I'm Harry Potter! I'm Harry Potter! Harry Potter! Singing our song all day long at Hogwarts! I found the source of the ticking! It's a pipe bomb! Yay! Voldemort.
This is time of our
So many thanks to our awesome presenter, Cathy and David, for today's fantastic seminar. We're going to put an end to this one. So thanks for joining us today. Okay, we'll see you soon.